Hello, everyone. My name is Gizem. Nice to meet you all. Nice to see you all here. How are you guys? By the way, you can use the chat box to answer me, or you can raise your hand and ask me questions anytime you want. So today we will have our speaking class together. Let me share my screen really quickly so that we can start. All right, you can all see my screen, right? Hopefully. Yes, good. I'm good. Thank you. So, as I've said, my name is Gizem. We will have our speaking class together. This is the speaking workshop for IELTS. So let's accept a few people that come in. All right. So today you will learn some discussion questions with some tips and tricks that we have for you. And so basically we will have like a mini speaking exam together. So we will have questions for part 1, 2, and 3. And at the end of the class, I will give you feedbacks based on your answers. So basically, I will be asking you some questions that might come up in the exam. And I would like you, all of you, to raise your hand and answer any questions that you want, basically, because I will be providing you with some detailed feedback and also some estimated band scores. Do you have any questions for me before we start? If so, you can use the chat box again, or you can raise your hand and ask me any questions. All right, looks like we're all good. So we will talk about some transportations today. And I don't know if you have ever taken the IELTS exam, but there are 3 parts in the IELTS exam. And in the first part, they will ask you some questions that are related to you or your own life, your likes and dislikes, like where you're from, or do you like something or you don't like something. So they will ask you some personal questions like these. And you will have around 30 seconds, 20 to 40 seconds for each question. And it says advisable that you give your answers like in really good details. So, for example, even if the question asks you, do you like ice cream? You need to give reasons and examples to whether you like ice cream or not. So, for example, you can say, last night I had an ice cream and it was the best thing that I have ever eaten, and stuff like that. So, they want detailed answers from you. Now, I will ask you one question, as you can see on the screen. Your first question is, what is the most popular means of transportation in your country? And you're also required to give the answer why, even though the examiner does not ask you so. So, who wants to answer the first question? What is the most popular means of transportation in your country? For example, in my country, a lot of people use public transportation like buses because otherwise there's so much traffic that people cannot go where they want to. So usually taking the bus is the faster way to go. Uh, that's why it's the most popular means of transportation. What about you guys? You can raise your hand and I will give you permission to speak. Yes, Jasleen. Thank you. You can unmute yourself now.
Hello,
Can you?
ma'am.
Hi.
Well, I want to answer now.
Yeah.
The most popular means of transport in my country is bicycle because individuals like to travel easily through it as I live in India and it is a very crowded place.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, ma'am.
So RS, you can, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So in my area, there is bus. Bus is the most popular transportation in my area, and we live in a small city. So people who wants to go from here and there, they have to take like tuk tuk, or they can even take bus and even take a train for small journey like near cities, but bus is the most popular transportation in my area.
All right. Thank you so much. That was actually really good. Who else? Yes, Sandhya, go ahead. Nice to see you back.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, buses remain the most popular means of transport in my hometown because of the affordable prices and easy way of transportation, availability of transportation.
All right. Can you give me one detail, like an example?
Okay, because there is more traffic in my country, in my hometown, so I know it's private vehicles are more, so we have to transport. The availability of transport is more likely to have in buses.
All right. Thank you so much. That was better than your first answer because it had some detail, right? And this is what the IELTS examiner looks for. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure. No worries. Who else? Who wants to answer this question? All right. Then let's move on to another question. And then maybe if there's someone who wants to answer the first one, we can come back to it. So the second question is, how much time do you spend traveling on a normal day? You can do this. And since this is the speaking workshop, I think it's really good to practice before the exam, right? And I think speaking is learned best if you practice, if you speak. Yes, Jaslyn, thank you. You can speak now.
As I'm pursuing my secondary education nowadays, I had to travel a lot. Basically, travel around 3 to 4 hours, and I have to go on my tuition for attending classes.
All right. Maybe just one more word. I think this is fine, but maybe one more sentence. Sorry, not word. All right. Okay, who else? Yes, Aras, thank you.
As I'm a student, I need to go to almost 70 kilometer. So I prefer traveling with train, and it took me 2 hour and 10 minutes to reach my destination. And thus I have to travel for almost 4 hour and 20 minutes a day.
Thank you so much. Really good. Who else? I'm taking notes of the mistakes that you're making or the good things that you're making, and I will be giving you feedback at the end of this class. All right, who else? You don't like the questions, or are you shy to speak? I'm asking this to people who hasn't spoken yet. If you're shy, if that is the reason, we all make mistakes. And for example, I made a mistake like a second ago, saying people who has made, like instead of people who have made. So it's all right. Don't be shy. All right. Maybe let's move on then. Is that cool? All right. So in the second part of the IELTS speaking exam, you will have a discussion part. Sorry, sorry. You will have a 2-minute speaking part. So, first of all, the examiner will give you a cue card, a topic card, and the card will have a question on it. And then the examiner will also give you a paper and a pen, and they will also give you 1 minute to prepare your answer. So, when you read the question, you will have 1 minute to take notes or whatever in your paper, and you will then be asked to speak for 2 whole minutes. And it's advisable that you speak at least for 1.5 minutes because any shorter than that will not actually get a good grade. So I think you should speak around 1 minute 45 seconds for each question at least. And then if you can get two, that is perfect. But if you talk longer than that, the examiner might stop you. Actually, they will stop you. So that's why I think it's better to talk not more than 2 minutes, basically. You guys ready to see the question? Let's see it. So, as I've said, you have 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to speak for this task. And once I give you the question, I will give you that 1 minute preparation time. And at the end of that 1 minute time limit, I will ask you to speak for 2 minutes. So our question for today is, describe your favorite means of transport. And you should say, what is it? When and how often do you use it? Why do you use it? And explain why it is your favorite transport. So I'm starting your 1 minute time, and it starts now. All right, your 1 minute is up. Who wants to speak first? Who wants to go first? All right, Aris, thank you so much. You can speak.
Um, my favorite transport is bus. Uh, I tend to move around by bus here and there in my cities and even different cities. It is really cheap and convenient. I typically walk every corner of my city I can because it is a small city. But still, if I have to go somewhere far from my walking ability, then I have to use bus. And it is though we can got stuck in traffic sometimes, but still bus is the most convenient one. This is why it is my favorite. I like to travel by bus a lot. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That was actually 40 seconds, so it was a rather short. But still, I think this is your first time attending our class, right?
Yes, ma'am. No, I attend your class previous on your previous class, but I cannot uh, on my mic due to some reasons.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. So basically, if you speak for less than 1 or 1.5 minutes, they will not actually give you good points. So, what we will do, we will have an example answer in a minute, and then maybe we can all come up with things that we can say that will make our speech longer. Is that all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Who wants to go next? Or would you like to see the example answer first? Maybe that will. Yeah, Jaslyn, go ahead.
Well, I live in India and there are various kind of transports which are used in daily basis. So today I want to tell about my favorite means of transport. Basically, it is a bicycle. It is a two-wheeler transport which is easy to carry. I often use it whenever I have to go on my tuitions and whenever I have to go nearby places. Because, as I told, it is an easy mode of transport. Apart from it, it is my favorite because it is very beneficial for health as I don't get time to do exercise as I'm pursuing my secondary education. I go and run and cycle every day in morning. It is also favorite of mine because it's gifted by my grandmother and I love her a lot. And it is a very precious gift which was gifted to me by my grandmother on my birthday. I feel very special gift Whenever someone asks me, because I live in India and the things we don't use, we just throw, but I never throw it and I always kept it with me. I want to keep it with me for a long period of time. Yes, it is my favorite transport.
Thank you so much. That was actually really good. You had some really good points, and although there were some mistakes, like grammatical mistakes, pronunciation mistakes, overall you had really good argumentation and detailing. So I think that was a really good answer. Thank you so much. Yes,
Thank you,
Sandra.
ma'am.
By the way, sorry, before you go, Sandra, there are some new people joining. Hi, welcome to our class. Right now, we're in the second part of your IELTS speaking exam. And we have this question, as you can see on the screen, to describe our favorite means of transport. And each of us are going one by one answering this question for 2 whole minutes. So if you guys want, you can prepare yourself for 1 minute and then you can raise your hand and I will give you permission to speak. And then you can answer the question. And at the end of the class, I will be providing you with feedbacks. Yes, Sandhya, now you can start.
I prefer bus because traveling bus is very affordable and we can save money. And I don't like to drive on during traffic. I've often used bus for traveling. There are several reasons why I travel by bus. First off, is my favorite mode of transportation is bus because I have to meet new people from around the city while traveling on bus. The seats on the buses are very spacious, and besides the low cost and convenience, buses contribute to less pollution also.
All
And
right.
moreover, buses are far safer mode of transport as most accident occurs due to the negligence of driving. So buses is my favorite mode of transportation. It offers a great sense of comfort and safety for me with affordable prices. So I like to travel bus.
All right. Thank you. I think that was it, right?
Yes.
All right. That was 1 minute actually, like around 1 minute. So it was a bit short, but still, we will learn how to do like a more detailed answer without repetition. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Who else? Deepak, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Do you want to speak? Or Pratyusha? I don't know if I'm pronouncing your names correctly, by the way. I'm so sorry, guys. Do you guys want to answer? All right, let's look at the example answer then. So let's get it all on the screen. Yes, so on the right side of the screen, you can see some words that you can use in this context. Do you guys know what they mean? So do you know what stuck means? You can either use the chat box or you can raise your hand and answer me. So stuck basically means that you're stuck in traffic, so you cannot move, for example. There's so much traffic that you cannot go anywhere. If you want to say that, you can say, I got stuck. That means that. Do you know what punctual is?
It is being on time. Ma'am, I'm
Yes.
sorry I did not raise my hand.
Oh, no, it's all right. No worries. But yes, punctual means that someone is on time, like all the time. So that person is punctual. What about convenient? You can just unmute yourself too. Yes, Iris.
The things you can afford.
Yes. So it can be the things you can afford too, but it also means that it's really easy to access. The things you can afford is actually more like affordable instead of convenient. Convenient is basically everything that is good and okay, it's advantageous for you. So, for example, taking the bus might be convenient because it's fast. All right. So taking something is, I think all of you used it, so you know this. So taking the bus means you're going somewhere by bus. Affordable, we've talked about it. Affordable means that something is cheap, so you can afford it. And to commute is to go from somewhere to another place. To commute is basically to go. All right, let's read our example answer now. So, our question was to describe our favorite means of transport. And the example answer goes saying, in my country, there are several modes of transportation. Residents in the metropolitan regions often own vehicles or take public transportation, whereas people in the rural areas prefer to go by bicycle or tractor. People use the modes of transportation that are most convenient for them. However, the metro is my preferred mode of transportation. I use the metro on an almost everyday basis. I normally use the metro instead of driving to work or anywhere else, for that matter. When I need to travel to a market in a densely populated location, I take the metro since it's punctual, ensures to help me reach somewhere on time, and without any hassles. And I won't have to worry about finding a parking place for my car. It appeals to me since it is a highly convenient and pleasant mode of transportation. I don't have to worry about traffic, and I'm confident that it will allow me to get my intended location on time. I can get on and go. Additionally, metro seats are extremely comfortable and air-conditioned transportation in India. In metro cities, metro trains are the most common mode of intercity transportation. Besides, traveling by metro is simple because the fares are affordable and accessible to anyone. To make it run quicker, the metro is powered by electric engines. It consists of many compartments and goes along railway rails. It's spacious and can transport a large number of people. Long distance and short distance metros are available. Many people in my nation like to travel by metro since it's convenient and well maintained. Moreover, the metro produces no air pollution and much less noise pollution. Therefore, I prefer it more than the other modes of transportation. So, this was our example answer. Now, if you want, since there are also newcomers, you can take again 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to answer me. And to answer me at any point, you can raise your hand and I will give you permission to speak. And I will start the clock and you will talk for 2 whole minutes. Is that all right for everyone? And hi, by the way, welcome to our class. We're on the part 2 of the speaking exam. And I'm waiting for you to raise your hands to answer this question. Who wants to go first? Joe, Amar, Deepak, do you want to speak? All right, I have a shy class today, I think. Or do you guys feel weird to talk, or are you shy, or did you not like the questions? Why aren't you speaking? You can also use the chat box to answer me, by the way. So Jasleen, the examiner will give you the cue card, and he or she will tell you that you have 1 minute to prepare your answer. And when that 1 minute ends, the examiner will say, okay, your time is over. And then he or she will start the clock again, and you will have to speak for 2 minutes. So you will have to speak for 2 minutes, not prepare. And yeah. So basically, the examiner will tell you, now your time starts, and you will speak for 2 minutes. Oh, sorry, I misread your question. So for example, you will kind of have to know how long that 2 minutes is going to take, because they will not be giving you the clock, so you will not be able to see the time. What they will do is, if you exceed that 2 minute time limit, they will say, yeah, okay, stop right now. So they won't necessarily say, yes, your 2-minute time is up. But if you exceed it too much, then they will say, yeah, okay, stop right now. Does that answer your question? Is that clear for you, all of you? I think yes. So in a way, you can speak like, for example, what I did when I took the IELTS exam before, like the first time, I tried to feel what 2 minutes feel like and how long I can speak for 2 minutes. I always timed myself while practicing, and I tried to like evaluate how I can speak or how long I can speak, and it's like 2 minutes. And if you practice this, like if you practice with the time that you can see, then you will feel how long 2 minutes take, and you will be able to tell when that 2 minutes is up, because the examiner will, yes, of course they will stop you, but they stop you when you exceed that time limit, not when it's actually 2 minutes. So anyone who wants to answer this question for me, please? Since this is the speaking workshop, I would really advise you to speak, because I will also be giving you feedbacks. Yes, Amar, thank you. Amar, you can speak. Can you hear me? Amar? Amar, if you're speaking, I cannot hear you right now. All right, maybe while we're waiting, who wants to go next? Come on, please. Speaking workshops are only good for you when you practice. I think this is a good chance for you to practice. All right. All right, let's move on to maybe part 3. Maybe you'll like those questions better. So in the third part of the IELTS exam, you will have a lot of different questions, maybe around 8 questions or maybe 5. It doesn't really have like a specific number. And they will be related to the discussion question in the second part. So basically, whatever the topic was in the second part, you will get questions like that, questions related to that in part 3. And the questions might be, sorry, I think someone unmuted themselves. Do you have a question for me?
ਉਹ ਨਾਮ ਚਾ ਯਾਰ ਤੂੰ ਤੇ ਡੁਗਰੇ ਕੁਛ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈ
Maybe. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
how are you ma'am
Oh, thank you so much. I'm good. How are you? I cannot hear you right now if you're speaking. All right. Amar came back. Amar, can you unmute yourself and try to speak right now? Maybe there was a problem with your Wi-Fi before? Amar?
no ma'am no problem
Oh, all right. Okay. Do you have any questions? All right. If not, let's move on to part 3. So as I was saying, they can ask you questions related to your answer in the second part, or they can ask you like different pre-scripted questions too. So be ready for all of those. And in this part, you will answer the question for around 1 minute. And they will tell you again if you're speaking for too long, but they won't stop you at that 1 minute time limit, because you don't have to speak for like 1 minute exactly. You will speak for like maybe 45 seconds and you can be all right. But don't exceed that 1 minute time limit that much. And as always, as it is in the speaking exam, you also will have to give details and explanations to your answer in this part too. So let's try to answer these two questions. So one of these two questions. So your first question is, how could transportation system be improved in your country? And the second question is, how do you think people will travel in the future? And you're asked to answer one of these questions. Choose and answer one of these questions. And as again, I will give you your feedback at the end of this class. Who wants to speak first? You don't, you can choose, I'm sorry, you can choose any of these questions and answer. Come on, please. So for example, I think in the future, people will take the bus, take public transport more than using private cars, because I think we won't have enough resources and enough maybe money to take our own individual vehicles to work or school every day. So I think in the future, a lot of the people will use public transportation like metros, buses, also metro buses. There's something called metro buses in my country because it's cheaper, affordable, and it doesn't require that much resources to go. Basically, what do you guys think? This is a workshop only specifically designed to make you guys speak and practice so that you can do better in the exam. All right, Jasleen, thank you so much. You can speak. Jasleen, you can speak. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am. I want to answer first question.
Sure.
Well, I think the first step to improvement would be to widen the roads and build two overpasses and underpasses to help traffic flow more frequently, which would reduce the congregation in the city center. Also, it would help in their bus service was improved to make it run more frequently, which would help with the overcrowding in rush hours. I think those are the two main chants that we can use to improve our transport system.
All right, thank you so much. I think that was really good. I'm sorry. I think that was really good because you've addressed the question. You have given enough information and details. Maybe it was a bit short. It was 35 seconds, but still, it was detailed enough so you won't lose any points for that. Thank you so much. Who else wants to answer this question or these questions, one of these questions? Yes, Ree, go ahead.
I will be answering the second one, that how do people will travel in the future.
Mhm.
In the future, we won't be having like our driving license. There won't be any driving license in future. I think so. And then there, as you said that there will be insufficient energy. We will have to use electric cars, those without gas or petrol, which is worse for our environment as well. Then we will be having or that manual cars, like there won't be any automatic cars like this in the future. We will be having this kind of transport system.
All right, thank you so much. So since there's no one else raising their hands, I will give you a few points. So at first you said there will be no driving licenses. I think you did not explain that point a bit. So for example, I can understand why people will not be using their cars that much, but I don't know if that explains why there won't be driving licenses. Do you see what I mean? So if you're saying
ma'am,
something,
I got your point.
yeah, so you have to support that idea a bit. So, but I think other than that, if I assume that I didn't hear your first sentence, I think overall it was a good answer because you had some detailing, some explanations as to why the transportation system will change and how it will change. But that first sentence was a bit unexplained. But other than that, I think it was really good. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, who else? I have a really silent class today, which is actually not the case most of the time. All right. By the way, I'm looking this side because I'm checking the chat box all the time to see if you're writing something. That's where I look at the chat box. All right. Let me accept one person. Yes. Yes, Sandia, go ahead. Sandia, if you're speaking, I cannot hear you right now.
High quality public transport services are reliable, fast and comfort and expert. So transportation system you have to improve by mostly giving mostly by priority to road. So giving public transport more accessible because it helps to reduce cost and it's more convenient. So, by improving this, we have to reduce air pollution because more vehicles produce air pollution mostly. So, we have to reduce by using public transportation. I think buses are most convenient method. So, yeah, it is very enhancing convenience and connectivity and it improves customer satisfaction and safety also.
All right, thank you so much. That was actually a really good answer because you had really good supporting arguments and you also explained them in great detail. Your answer was exactly like around 1 minute, so I think that was really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Amar, I see you've joined again. Can you try to unmute yourself and let's see if we can hear you now? I couldn't hear you the last time. Yes, of course, you can speak. But if you're speaking right now, I cannot hear you. Have you tried unmuting yourself? There's a microphone there. I cannot hear anything if you're speaking. Can you guys hear Amar or is it just me? Can you hear Amar? No? All right. Amar, we cannot hear you. I'm sorry. Maybe I don't know what to do. Have you allowed the microphone when you're entering this class? Because you need to allow your access. You need to give access to your microphone. Maybe that's one of that might be a reason why you're not speaking. You cannot speak. Sorry. Maybe you can come back again and try allowing the microphone. And yeah, hope that works. All right. Till then, does anyone else want to answer these questions? Yes, Jasleen, go ahead.
Can I answer second question too?
Sure, yeah. All right.
Well, according to my perspective, I hope more environment-friendly vehicles will be invented in future for travelers. They can use them more frequently without concerning about the pollution. Apart from it, the automatic traffic, such as automatic cars or flight, will reduce people energy, and I think they would be more cheaper than now.
All right. Thank you so much. Amar asked in the chat box how they can allow the microphone and camera. So when you click on the link, on the website, and when this page comes up, it actually should ask you if camera and microphone should be allowed. So when it asks you, you should click allow. If it's not asking that, I don't know what is causing that problem. But yeah, if it asks when you click on the link, it should come up. All right. So while we're waiting for Amar, I will give you some feedback, and yeah, we'll talk about what you did good and what you could improve. So basically, in IELTS speaking, there are 4 different criteria: fluency and coherence, lexical resources, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. So the examiner looks for these 4 criteria and gives you a band score depending on how well you do in these 4 criteria. So let's start with Jasleen because you were the first to talk. So Jasleen, in your first answer, and also like in different answers too, you had some pronunciation mistakes. So, for example, we say bicycle. I don't remember what exactly you said, but it's bicycle. It's the correct version is bicycle. And also, you've had some grammar mistakes, and you had some a bit short answers. So, for example, some grammar mistakes that I took notes of are you said in morning instead of in the morning. You've had some singular plural mistakes. They were like, for example, she use instead of she uses. And you've had some repetitions. So, what do I mean by repetitions? I mean that, for example, some words like popular or transportation were repeated a lot, and that actually makes us lose points too. As you can see here, where was it? Yes, here. So, for example, to get a band 6, you need to have only occasional repetitions. But to get a band 5, for example, you need to use repetition. So that changes actually our whole score. And other than that, let's see, your argumentation was really good. So you clearly understood the questions and you were able to answer them, support them, give enough details. So there were no problems there. Only some like grammatical mistakes and some repetition mistakes, some pronunciation mistakes. I think you would get like around maybe 6 because yes, you've had some repetitions, but they were not that much still. So maybe a 5.5 or a 6, I think, would be an accurate score for you. And if you've solved that problem of repetition and grammar mistakes, few grammar mistakes, and pronunciation, of course, you could easily get a higher score because other than that, I think you were overall doing really good. All right. The next one to speak was Ree. So, Ree, your answer, let's start with the parts that we can improve. You had some pauses in between your answers. So, for example, instead of talking like in a really good pace, you were sometimes speaking as though you're translating on your mind. So, since the examiner doesn't know if you're thinking what to say or how to say that in English, that actually affects our point. And as you can see here, where is that again? Somewhere here, it says pauses. So pausing actually makes us lose points. So what you can do instead is you can try to not translate, but think in English. And to do that, I would advise all of you to always try to think and speak in English, even if you're doing the most basic thing at home, like if you're thinking like, oh, I need to brush my teeth, let's think that in English. And that actually quite helps our fluency and coherence, basically. That was the first thing. And there were also some grammar mistakes, like you missed a few this here and there. And you had some grammar mistakes like singular and plural. So, for example, I think you said something like maybe 4 hours instead of 4 hours. because it's more than one, you need to add s there, so for hours instead of for hour. You had that. You also did not use some this. I said that, all right. And some of the answers were too short, like for example, your second part, I think your answer was 40 seconds. But then again, you've had some really good relative clauses, so really good grammar usage at 1.2. And you've also had some different vocabularies in your answers, which were really good too. And what else? And yeah, in the last part, since you did not explain that one point, that actually makes you lose points too, because how you support your argumentation also matters for the examiner. But other than that, I think you were really good. And I think you would get like around 5-ish, because some answers were really short, so they wouldn't give you enough points. And since they are short, they might be giving you less than 5 too. I'm giving your band score based on your other abilities instead of how long they are, because I think you can speak for longer if you practice. So if you did exactly like this, you wouldn't get a 5, but still, I think you have enough abilities to get a 5 if you speak for longer periods of time, if that makes sense. All right. And the next person to speak was Sandhya. Sandhya, I remember you from our previous classes, and I think it's safe to say it's uh, really good that I can say that you have improved in these few classes that we have had together. So well done on that. But other than that, you've had some poses again, and I know it's um, something that we all do. I have poses all the time too. But I'm saying this because they're noticeable. So when your poses are noticeable, that actually makes you lose points. Other than that, you have had some grammar mistakes. Again, we all have them, but sometimes if they're too much, again, they might make you lose points, since it's one of the criterias, as you can see on the screen. Other than that, you've had some repetition problems too. So, for example, you've kind of repeated the same words over and over again, like transport, favorite, and words like that. Instead, and I'm saying this to all of you, um, what you can do is you can try to learn the synonyms of those words that you feel like you're repeating too much. So, for example, instead of saying my favorite mode of transport, we can say I love this one, or I enjoy this one the most, or you can say I choose this one over others, which all basically mean that it's your favorite mode of transport, right? So while taking the exam and while preparing for the exam, make sure that you're learning the synonyms and paraphrased versions of those vocabularies that we frequently use. And I think, Sandhya, overall, you could get like around 6. Again, as I've said, um, you've improved, but maybe a 5.5, a 6 would be a more accurate score still, because, as I've said, repetitions, grammar mistakes, and like frequent pauses actually makes us lose points. All right. Did I miss anyone? I think everyone got their feedback. All right. So what you need to do next, as I said, first of all, make sure that you're learning new words and vocabularies and the synonyms of those words that we use frequently, and always practice. You can attend our classes and unmute yourselves and speak. I think that is really helpful, as I can see from the few people that have joined time and again, and they've improved a lot. You can also watch our videos on the Clasital webpage, which will help you with your overall exam. And also, you can watch the previous videos on our YouTube channel. So you can write Clasital on YouTube, and basically, you can see all the videos there. And before you go, I will now send you a survey link, which I would appreciate if you filled it up. Let's see. Yes. So I would really appreciate it if you filled the survey form up because we take them really seriously. If you have any questions or if you have any suggestions for this class,
Love you,
we'll be
Jasleen.
really happy to hear them. Has anyone said anything? I couldn't hear. I'm sorry. All right. So thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to fill out the survey form. My name is Gizem, by the way. The survey will ask you that. Let me type it for you. Yes. And I hope in our next class we will have more participation and we will have a better class than this one. It's really enjoyable for me and you if you guys practiced and participated. And thank you to those who have participated in my class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you all. Hope to see you back.